Two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting Inside Movies Galore episode where we are continuing to celebrate our 5 years of being here online. And we are back with our good friend here, Dustin, with his last choice of filmery here. So why don't you tell us exactly what film you had us watch this week?
Well, so because of all the buzz surrounding its recent sequel, I thought it would be a good time for us to cover Terrifier from 2016, which I actually thought this was from 2017, but in the credits it says 2016, so maybe it just got distribution in 2017, and that's why it's like that in my memory. But anyway, Terrifier is a somewhat hard to classify kind of slasher. It's more like a splatter kind of.
Yeah, I'd say splatter.
Splatter? Yeah, okay, good.
Splatter slasher flick, torture, maybe even torture porn.
And there is definitely some torture porn moments in this, but it's not like that the whole way through. So it's kind of hard for me. It was kind of hard for me to pick one, you know. So, but yeah, so Terrifier is a splatter slasher from 2016 or 17, depending on who you talk to.
A splasher.
Splasher. Yeah, it's a splasher featuring new horror icon Art the Clown, who has become very popular very quickly. Actually, when I was first exploring doing a solo podcast before COVID and grad school shut that down, David Howard Thornton, the guy who plays Art the Clown, was set up to be one of my guests. And apparently he's still open to doing it, but he's a lot busier nowadays. So I messaged him a few weeks ago. But anyway, so this movie, oh boy, hope you've got a strong stomach if you're going to try to watch this. So, because it's one of those rare, like, really nasty films that somehow made its way into the mainstream and was like seen by the normal person.
It's definitely got some grease around its gills, that's for sure.
Yeah. It is quite nasty and quite brutal. Like, it even says in big letters on the Blu-ray case, "Not for the squeamish." So actually later what I want to do is I want to see some movie reactions on YouTube to Terrifier and just watch people like actually die. Like there's one lady who focuses just on horror, Alana Parker, and Terrifier won her like viewer request poll, and she looked into it and she was like, "I'm not doing that." But so anyway, it's basically just about Art the Clown going on a rampage one night, and so my first impression of this was it had a very fearsome reputation. And it just kept making me like more and more excited to see it. I noticed kind of the same thing happened with Terrifier 2 this time. Like everybody's like was excited about it, and it's like, okay, it's been hyped up. And Terrifier 2, I think, fell a little flat to me because I had built it up so much in my mind. It was still great though. Whereas with this first Terrifier, it really met my expectations. Like, I was really impressed with it. I mean, I think some of the effects personally were a little, this is a low-budget movie, and it very much shows quite often, in my opinion, on some of the gore effects. Like, when we get to the scene, like, it didn't nail me as hard as it nailed other people because I could tell it's like, okay, that's the prop body, got it. And it was quite obvious, so it sort of like softened the blow of what we were seeing. But overall, my impressions of this movie were very positive, and I was pretty excited for the sequel to come out. But that got delayed a few years and just dropped in October. And it was kind of funny on Twitter seeing some of the younger kids who only know about Terrifier from Terrifier 2 they were saying things like, nobody was excited about Terrifier. And I was like, everybody was excited about Terrifier. Like, the buzz for Terrifier 2 is pretty much the buzz that there was for Terrifier 1.
Well,
So-
not to mention that Art the Clown was in All Hallows Eve 1 and 2 anthologies, which pretty much set him on his spiral to, I would say,
I remember
claim.
Art was in a segment in All Hallows Eve, and that was really the only memorable thing about that movie, in my opinion. I thought he wasn't in All Hallows Eve 2. So he actually is in All Hallows Eve 2?
I think so. I have to go back and rewatch it. I know Brandon did.
I had been told he wasn't in All Hallows Eve 2.
Okay.
But I could very easily be wrong. But yeah, that's the origins of Art. He's from that anthology film.
Yeah, I know his face is all over the cover of All Hallows Eve 1, so.
It's pretty obvious. I think
there's like a short film version of it, though.
Yep.
There's a short film version of Terrifier, I believe, yeah.
Or the Ninth Circle is what the hell's the Ninth Circle? That's the other one that I was hearing about. Is that the short film? Oh yeah, that's it. The Ninth Circle is the other one that he's in. So Ninth Circle, All Hallows Eve, and then the 2 Terrifier movies. It doesn't show All Hallows Eve 2 for him, but the internet can be wrong sometimes.
Yeah, that's kind of odd. The short isn't on the Terrifier Blu-ray.
That is a bummer. I wonder
what's
up there.
Strange. Yeah.
That's because it might still be underneath the anthology, copyright or whatever.
I'm talking about the Terrifier short.
Uh,
Because that wasn't in an anthology movie, was it? Wasn't that just a standalone?
Yeah, it's just called the Ninth Circle. I don't know if it was ever used in an anthology or anything, but
yeah. So the Ninth Circle is not on this disc, which is disappointing. Because as soon as you said that, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right." Wait, did I ever see that? So, but anyway, that's pretty much my first impression. It was pretty awesome, and it blew me away. And we had to wait a little too long for the sequel, but the sequel did not disappoint. So, although, again, like the Terrifier movies each have one big like kill scene that's just the scene, and it's kind of where they lose me a little bit, because it's like, okay, you would be very dead at this point. Like, how are you having them still moving around? But anyway, moving on from my impression, since we've been hearing from you a little bit, Mo, would you be ready to go?
Oh yeah, sure. This is definitely was my first time with this movie. I was aware of the hype, but I don't know. Not that I was like avoiding it because I'm too cool to watch the shit that's hyped up or whatever. It just never materialized. It never came about. I guess I'm also not huge into the killer clown thing, so it wasn't an immediate thing that would grab my attention. I think I heard about the girl getting sawed in half, and that sounded pretty cool. So it was always sort of in the back of my mind that I needed to check it out, and then seeing everybody get so hyped for the second one, it was like, man, maybe I really ought to get around to watching those. And then, I think I kind of had learned a little while before that he's also in an anthology and apparently a short film. And I like the idea of an anthology character going on to have like his own sort of franchise, right? Like, I imagine they're going to do more than just the 2 Terrifier movies. So it's all got me very intrigued. I don't know if I did the right move starting with this and not watching All Hallows Eve first or the short film, but
Yeah,
it was pretty straightforward, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. This is that perfect mindless violence that if it had came out in the 80s, like, you'd have rented this for every fucking sleepover, because there's not really a bunch of dialogue you have to listen to. It's just a clown killing people in a fucking gross building. What more do you need? And he's delivering a absolutely mesmerizing performance as this clown while he's doing it as well. So I could see maybe some people, criticizing this movie for pretty much all the stuff that makes it awesome is that, you don't have to think about it. There's not a plot weighing this thing down or anything. It's just a clown fucking, churning people in a meat grinder for an hour and a half. And it's a lot of fun. Can't really say that I love any of the characters because Art's the only character that really matters. But I mean, there's some pretty girls in this movie, so it's a bonus for it. You don't really get to see them, scantily clad until they're dead, and then it's just kind of unpleasant. But that's not really the kind of movie this is. They're just chicks that kind of end up stranded on Halloween night, I think it is, and Art kills them. I would wager this is probably the perfect movie to watch like on the side while you hand out trick-or-treater candy, because there's nothing to pay attention to. You just crack some cold ones and watch Art splatter these people all over the place, and give candy to the kids. Maybe dressed as Art. That'd be pretty fun. But yeah, that's pretty much my first impression. It's pretty great. I can understand why it's popular. It's got that sort of just distilled gore fest thing going on, so anybody that likes that kind of stuff can just enjoy it without too much effort, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they could make this 2.5-hour sequel for this movie. I've heard the plot is like a high point of that thing too. Yeah, so
It actually does have a lot more plot than you would expect. I'm gonna try not to spoil too much of like Terrifier 2, but with it being like fresh in my mind, it's hard not to talk about Terrifier 2 along with Terrifier.
right.
So,
but I'm sure we'll get to a full discussion on that someday.
yeah, I would like us to do Terrifier 2 relatively soon. It does come out at the end of December on Blu-ray.
Oh, I did see it in theaters over just a few weeks ago.
I ended up having to stream it because we couldn't find anywhere to see it like near me.
Because it was it's both movies are shot in New York, and so
Yeah, you have a great theater.
Since it was a local production, every theater in the area was showing it, or at least every Regal and every independent theater around here was showing it.
I do absolutely love too that it's like these independent movies that are kind of Terrifier 2 fucking dominated all the other horror movies that dropped recently. I mean,
even like Halloween Ends.
Yeah,
like this movie that was like only cost several $1,000s. Overshadowed Michael Myers.
That movie, dude.
Yeah,
it's fucking awesome. Every part of me that likes low budget indie movies is cheering for joy for this franchise. No, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, though, if it was just this first movie, would I probably revisit it a bunch? Nah, I mean, not seriously. I think once you've seen this movie one time, you can probably just watch it as background gore. After
I would agree with that. Yeah, because there's not a lot. There's not a lot to this movie beyond just like mayhem. Like these girls' car breaks down. They run into Art. Art like goes after them, like for the rest of the night.
And that's what happens. Yeah, that's the movie. He just told you the whole plot. I was so surprised when the janitor started talking so much because it was the most dialogue that we'd had in the whole movie, and it was like, oh shit, what's happening? Is this becoming an actual movie? Do I have to listen now? But yeah, it's just good stuff, man. It's beer and popcorn at its finest, and I love that it's kicking ass all these major flicks right now, especially Halloween.
Yeah, well, I really loved Halloween Ends. So
I liked it a lot myself.
Same here.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the people who didn't like Halloween Ends didn't get what they were doing, and it's like. I mean, it's basically that thing that they tease at the end of Halloween 4, and people have been for years. It's like, oh, why didn't they do that? Why didn't they do that? It's like, well, they did that, and now you hate it, jerks.
Yeah, that was fucking awesome. I like it way better than Kills.
But it seems like everybody who hated Halloween Ends really loved this movie. Or really loved Terrifier 2. So that's at least from the trend I've seen on social media.
Oh man, you know how many some of them got to be like Halloween fans that aren't used to this level of gore, and they're forcing themselves to like it just to be like contrary, you know?
Yeah, I follow because of that Dead by Daylight game I play, I have a lot of I follow and interact with like a lot of like 19, 20-year-old kids who play it. And it's kind of fun to like see them experiencing like a lot of horror stuff for the very first time. And it's been wild to see them like try to handle Terrifier 2. They've done pretty good. It's just kind of like, never seen anything like that before, eh? Well, I can recommend some other stuff that will probably give you nightmares too.
The crazy thing is, dude, like, even little kids know about Terrifier now because of how big that everybody
Yeah.
kind of knows about Terrifier too.
I mean,
So now all these kids are like tuned in, and they maybe probably, hopefully, haven't seen the movie.
I feel like I've been seeing more. I feel like I've been seeing more Art the Clown costumes and cosplays just in the last year or two.
Like there's little kids out there at like school that know Art the Clown is like some evil clown. They probably think he's a creepy pasta or whatever they call like Slendermans and all those creatures and kids talk about these days. But I like the idea of that, you know, like we haven't since Sam gotten like a new horror icon that really stuck with the you know, basic mainstream horror crowd, or you know, so it's cool to see Art come in there and establish himself firmly as that next dude, you know.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that he doesn't even talk. I mean, he is basically a mime.
He makes no sense.
So, in a sense, it's like he's like a king of the mime community of you know, doing what he's doing, you know.
Yeah, he only makes noise when he uses that little horn.
Which is great.
But, anyway, were we on your impression, Forrest?
I don't think you had called on me yet.
I was finished, so yeah. If
I figured Mo was finished, and we yeah, because I know we like to try and keep it in segments. But that was pretty good places that little digression went. So good work, guys. So we'll get into it soon. So anyway, your go, Forrest. When did you first see Terrifier 1?
I only just saw Terrifier 1 just this past October, just last month for the first time. I mean, like Mo, I was aware of this. I was aware of this movie and the character of Art the Clown, but I hadn't seen any of the movies until now because I was just looking for something to watch, something just to have throw on as background noise while I was working. And I'm like, okay, and Terrifier 2 had just come out, and there was a lot of buzz around that. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna finally get, especially like because actually quite a few of my friends worked on Terrifier 2, either as actors or crew members. So I was like, all right, fuck, I've been seeing, you know, it's kind of hard at this point. I mean, yeah, like Mo, I was aware of it, but wasn't a hype, you know, wasn't like in a hurry to watch these movies, but. Like the more all the hype, with the more hype and the more connections I have to the franchise, because I should disclose that I am Facebook friends with Michael Levy, who's one of the actors in this movie, and I have met Catherine Corcoran a few times at screenings for trauma movies because she's a regular at Trauma.
I think I'm still Facebook friends with David Howard Thornton from way back when this first came out.
All right. Well. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I met Catherine Corcoran. I met her a few times. Really sweet girl, gorgeous. And so I'm like, okay, I'm finally just gonna watch this. Like, I mean, this isn't something where I'm not like in fucking love with these movies, but they make me very, very hopeful because like these, you know, these movies are made for a fraction of what. Are made for a fraction of what you see in your neighborhood multiplexes, and on top of that, like, you know, it was like after the 80s, like, you know, back in the 70s and 80s, New York was the place where like, you know, in the 70s and 80s, there was a huge boom of indie horror movies being shot here in New York, and then the 90s came around and it just kind of died out. But I feel like it's been making a come. Right. I feel like it's been making New York City based horror is kind of making a comeback with the Terrifier franchise, with vampire with the vampires versus the Bronx, and then there was this other one that came out. There was just one that there's one on Shudder that I saw like a few years, not too long ago. Oh, Daniel Isn't Real. So I feel like it's kind of nice to see like New York's indie horror scene make a comeback, have a renaissance.
Right. Yeah, I can understand that. Gives you hope that more people will come there to work with those guys and do more movies
and to see more small movies make a killing, like literally make a kill, like figuratively make a killing, especially like at the box office, like seeing them go toe to toe with the more mainstream flicks. But as for the movie itself, Jesus Christ, man, it is just brutal and unrelenting. And yeah, I think Art the Clown is definitely very worthy heir to the likes of Jason and Leatherface and Michael. It's so damn brutal. It's so brutal and so sadistic and unrelenting. I do agree with Mo though that like this is definitely more of a background, put it on as background noise, whether you give candy to kids or like or if you're just like say folding or even just folding your laundry or something. But it's still, I feel like this. I feel like it's not again not like a huge. I don't think I'm a huge fan or anything, but I've caught. Now that I've seen both Terrifier movies, I did catch All Hallows Eve too on Tubi. And I think they're very solid. They're very solid flicks that kind of deliver on what they'll deliver on your if you have any expectations. Like pretty much, I sort of feel like they deliver and they exceed expectations. And yeah, this is not a movie for the faint at heart or the squeamish. And everything that people could hate about it is probably what fans will love about it. This is all. Yeah, so I've only seen it 3 times now, but I liked it. It was pretty good for what it's very well made, very well done for what it for. Yeah, it's very well done for what it is, and it gives me hope. Again, it gives me hope for indie film, especially for the local indie horror for the local indie horror scene here in New York.
Fucking A, man. It's definitely got like a sheen to it, like I was saying. I think that's part of its success too, is your casual horror fans that maybe don't watch low budget stuff. It doesn't look low budget to the untrained eye, and the bits where it does, it's shocking enough to the untrained eye that you're not going to notice.
Yeah, it's got very high production value. Also, exactly. Also, on top of that, I'm surprised that this, because this was a crowd, this wasn't just indie, this was crowd funded. Well, all these movies were crowd funded, and still got wide release. They were how often do you see crowdfunded indie movie, especially crowdfunded indie horror movie, get released get a nationwide release in
it's insane. I can't think of another one that I immediately
get a nationwide release in chain theaters.
Yeah, it's fucking Regal. Everywhere, dude.
It started really
any
small,
family cinema it's around here, they're playing Terrifier, all of them. It's nuts. I've been racking my brain since we started trying to think of the last time I can remember that happening, and I don't think I can.
Yeah, I think
anything like that. I feel like anything like that would have happened probably before we were born.
Exactly. I think part of why I've been thinking it over, and I think part of why Terrifier 2 has been so successful in theaters is because, it's an opportunity to see something like this in a theater. as we've just been saying, like that's really rare. So even if people may not necessarily be interested in Terrifier, like I think horror fans would just go to see it in order to see something like this on a big screen.
Oh yeah, that release
Yeah.
would have been fucking solid just with the horror crowd going out to it. But this is like, Terrifier 2's practically became like a date movie.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
No,
there's just casual normies going out and getting fucked up by art. You know,
Yeah, when I went,
It's
I went,
it's
like, I went to go
amazing.
see Terrifier 2 on a Sunday night, and it was like it was like all couples are around me in the theater.
they want to see each other's reactions to it. You know, I just think that's great. You know,
Yeah, I feel like though if this had been released in the '80s, this would have been probably would have been the 73rd movie classified as a video nasty, as I was having that little discussion with you, Mo, the other day about video nasties.
yeah. Dude, another thing that we do gotta point out is Halloween probably does deserve some credit for the huge success of art, because if that last movie
Yeah.
wasn't so divisive, it wouldn't have drove as many people. There was a
Yeah.
lot of people spite watched Terrifier 2 just as a fuck you to Halloween Ends. You know?
And it's funny because
Uh,
Halloween, I feel like Halloween was like one of the last movies of this kind to have that much of an impact. The original Halloween.
Exactly.
Right. Hey, you know, love it or hate it, it helped to launch the New Blood. You know what I mean? I
Yep.
think that's kind of poetic. That, you know, Michael dies and from his fucking ashes rises art.
Art,
Like,
yes.
that is amazing. Anyway, did we get to Tammy and Dave here? Let's get you guys in there before we
Yeah, I think it's your turn.
start slicing this ham open here.
I pick with Tammy.
Okay. I thought that I'd seen it before, but I'm not sure. Just some stuff looked familiar. Um, it was pretty good. I mean, I don't like clowns, but you know, he was quite terrifying. Like somebody said before, he doesn't talk at all. I mean, even when he gets hurt, he doesn't like scream or
Yeah.
anything. He's just like, you know, totally mime, you know. um as far as the slasher part of it, you know, yeah, I think it definitely lived up to, you know, your mainstream slasher movies, you know. um Definitely had some unique things in it, which I'm sure we'll get to as far as the slashing part. um but yeah, for a horror movie, I thought it was decent. Like I said, I don't normally go for ones with clowns in them because I'm not a clown person, but I found he was kind of interesting since he never made a sound at all. But yeah, it was fun. I wouldn't mind checking out the part 2.
Okay. Well, I remember the buzz about the first one myself. And I remember collecting the All Hallows Eve and the All Hallows Eve 2. I ended up getting signed by someone involved with the project. And when Terrifier 1 came out, it took me a moment to actually um, get a copy, but once I finally did, I did enjoy it, and I believe that I watched it with Tammy the first time. It was because of the buzz that I watched it, and it did deliver. I mean, it's a very good looking production, uh, as I think the rest of you have said, and I like how Forrest put it, a splasher.
Mhm.
But it see art reminds me of the first time I saw a different clown on America's Got Talent. His name was called Puddles the Clown, and he actually has a
Yeah.
YouTube following called Puddles Pity Party. And he does when he came on the stage and whatnot, he came up all silent, and then he just sings the most beautiful things. The same way with art. Art can say nothing at all, and yet he can be comical as fuck. So, I mean, especially that moment when he comes into the pizza parlor, and he just smiles ever so like creepily at the like the main chick. So, but yeah, it definitely delivered in the gore effects. Yeah, I mean, looking back at it now that I've seen it twice, yeah, some of the effects you can tell are like fake, but that first time watch is definitely not a bad watch, and I can definitely see why it is and has such a big pull. So the areas are creepy. The people involved in the production definitely gave like an off-worldly presence. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, it's got its charm. So I enjoy it.
And I think like the effects for being an indie movie are top fucking tier,
Yeah.
but like, obviously they could be better. I think as mean spirited as the movie is, if the effects were too much more realistic, it would start to feel real fucked up,
Yeah.
like even for people
Feel
that
more
are
like a snuff.
used to gore, exactly.
It'd feel like a snuff film or like a Serbian film.
Yeah, I think that I could see enjoying them being a little bit better in certain areas, which I imagine they probably are on Terrifier too. I don't know. But
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, yeah, the effects are a little are a little better. Has a little more production value.
right. You make it too realistic though, and then it just becomes a bummer, So I think they ride that line pretty well in this first one. I don't imagine they fucked it up in the second one. The stills I've seen from that second one make it look like it's almost just as fun, because lack of plot aside, art is pretty enjoyable to just watch. This dude really gets into playing the character, and it shows his weird little mannerisms or whatever, and the way he expresses excitement or like rolls his fucking eyes in his skull and looks like he's like getting off when he's trying to smother that girl with the fucking saran wrap. Like there's just lots of little touches he's able to put into the character that make me really glad they did it as like prosthetic makeup and not a mask. Because if it was just a clown, even splattering the people around as awesomely as Art is doing in this, if it was just a guy in a clown mask with no like emotion showing through it, it would be boring as fuck. It'd just be splatter sequences, every couple of minutes and people running around. But Art being as personable, I guess, as he is, makes it, a very entertaining watch despite the lack of dialogue and plot, Who needs a fucking plot? I don't need fucking, 15 minutes of lore built up around this clown before he starts killing people. I like how they stripped it right back down to almost the Michael Myers formula of he's just evil and decided to do it.
Yeah,
that's it.
I feel like there's a lot. It's like he doesn't just go around just offing people. He toys with them like Michael did. Like Michael did in the first movie.
And I do think that the director was influenced by films like Long Pigs and Bone Tomahawk.
Was Bone Tomahawk out when this came out?
It was definitely out.
What year is Bone Tomahawk from?
Bone Tomahawk was
2015.
2015.
Yeah. Okay, so it would have been like the year before this came out, probably while this was in production or being written then.
I think they were both probably influenced by similar movies. It's just all the chunk blowers back in the day.
Yeah, the credits.
Terrifier takes like Fulci gore and puts it into a Michael Myers movie is basically kind of what's going on here, you know.
The
I
credits.
don't know. For me, I don't know if this is more Fulci gore or more Herschel Gordon Lewis gore.
The credits.
I think they'll.
Thank
Go
you
ahead, sorry.
for Tobe Hooper, Wes Craven, and George Romero.
Yep.
So those are
Yeah.
the
I
influences.
could see that Romero
Definitely some
influence.
influences there. Yeah.
Especially the body ripping, like from Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just classic slasher shit, but with the level of gore that people probably thought was in most of those movies all the time, you know. Which it is. Usually most slasher movies have a gore scene or two that are like, whoa, you know, but Art just does it every time.
Every time.
You know? Like, every kill is that moment in this movie, and it is a little bit almost exhausting by the end, but the movie's pretty what do you call it, like, it's not long, you know. It doesn't, at least it doesn't feel long.
Only
It's like
84
an
minutes,
hour
yeah.
It's only like an hour and 20 minutes basically.
Yeah, hour and 20 minutes. And
Which,
the second movie is a whole hour longer than that.
Yeah, that's what's so fascinating, you know, because
10?
if I didn't already know that so many people thought it was good despite the length, I would be like, that has to be fucking boring, you know. But I guess they fill it up pretty good, so looking forward to it. And this one's filled up real good. I feel like there's like some scene of graphic fucking violence every maybe 5 to 10 minutes, you know. I'd be interested to see what the longest gap between kills is in this, because there's a few of them.
Yeah, even when nothing's really happening, like to the two main girls, like Art is off killing somebody else.
Yeah, they get plenty of randoms in the mix, so that and you got like the dude, the exterminator that's in there, like spraying.
The exterminator, the janitor, like the night guard, like the night watchman.
And then the two pizzeria guys and the crazy lady with the baby, and you know, you've got a solid body count right there, in addition to, like, I guess the 3 girls that are meant to be the targets or whatever. Because when you just read the descriptions, it's like, oh, it's this killer clown trying to murder 3 girls in a warehouse or whatever, and it's like, all right, I suppose, yeah, there's room for a hacksaw kill in there. I for some reason, slasher brain didn't immediately kick in and think, oh, there's going to be randoms though too, you know. I thought it was just a clown trapped in a warehouse with the 3 chicks, and I was still down for it because I knew that at least someone was getting hacksawed in half.
Yeah. But
I guess we could just talk about the kills, because that's kind of what the movie is. I mean, initially Art creeps out the girls at the pizzeria, and then you know, the one girl's kind of mean to him.
Pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, we do open with
oh yeah, the faceless
we
lady.
open with the interview with the faceless lady.
Yeah.
Who we later learn is the opening of the movie takes place a year after the movie.
Yeah.
And the same day that Terrifier 2 takes place, actually.
Nice.
Huh.
Which is pretty wild. So the faceless lady is the one survivor of the rampage that we see here in Terrifier.
And she's faceless, so we don't know who it is. That just clicked. It just clicked.
Yep.
You know.
And so anyway, she's being interviewed on TV about pretty much just how, like, bad her life is. And it's pretty grim. And then we get a scene that they were very proud of in the commentary, with Art putting on his costume, like painting on the clown makeup, like picking out like tools and weapons, like pulling on his gloves. And they said they were directly inspired by Freddy building his gloves for that scene.
Yeah, you could tell.
I can see that.
And they were like, we love a good, suiting up scene, like getting ready for action. And I really liked that scene a lot. myself. I had kind of forgotten about it, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, opening with like some real unexpected gore is a good touch too. She gouges that lady's eyes out good.
Yep.
And I like that they don't show too much of like art having. It's all very rudimentarily made, which also kind of nods back to like the Freddy glove being really this. I mean, we think of it as this slick piece of horror memorabilia because we've been looking at it our whole lives, but
Well,
it really is supposed to be something a madman made on like a workbench.
and
I got
seeing
scrap
art with
metal.
just
if you
and go ahead.
if you think about it, the film is, I think, also influenced by Saw because of the fact that the beginning, it has the final girl, becoming pretty much a prodigy, you know, a prodigy of her torture, So,
We don't really
and you got
put that out till the end.
you got Art actually riding around on a bicycle, and you can almost see Saw riding on that bicycle.
True. That is also just a clown thing, though, those tiny bikes. So, I mean, it could be seen as parallel just incidentally, or it could be seen as, a nod to the little jigsaw puppet. I don't know. The Saw thing, I guess people could compare it because there's like the torture porn element or whatever, but Saw is a very specific, like game oriented thing to me, kind of like Cube. So it's just a little bit different in that respect. But yeah, I think I see what you're talking about. There's a little bit of that vibe to it. The way it's shot is a bit Saw-ish too. The way it's like just the way the movie looks. You know what I mean? It's got that.
Yeah.
I'm not savvy enough with like film specifics or
The
the
only
camera
reason
stuff.
why
I
I
tell
made
you,
that
trying
connection
to say
is
that.
the only reason why I made that connection was because it's not Art that's actually killing the girl, it's the victim. So
Yeah, that is neat.
to me,
that is something that
that's a casting on of the elements, a pass of the axe.
the girl, the faceless girl, kills the host of the TV show in her dressing room.
So
Yep.
I just figured I should probably mention what we're referring to, in case people are like, "What are they doing?" But yeah, we do get that, and then I think we just get introduced to our two main girls like right away. Like they're coming back from a Halloween party, and the car like runs out of gas or something. Like they have to stop or something.
Well, I think they're just basically
they're hungry.
One girl is going to drive them, but then she realizes she's a little too tipsy to drive, and I think she wants to get something to eat, and I believe that's why they stop. So then she could be like sober enough to safely drive them, which is a good move.
And that is a New York slice of pizza there. That's that big ass slice that you can get for like
$2.75.
$3 to $5.
That's it's $2.75. It's like $2.50, $2.75 around here.
That's beautiful. It looked real good.
Yep.
I'm sure it was. And then that's basically where we get our first interaction with Art. It creeps him out, gives the one girl a little Cracker Jack ring out of the quarter
they
machine.
see him in the alleyway first, and then it's like the drunk friend ends up like
he's holding that like bloody trash bag full of like murder tools, and just stares at them. And then they go into the restaurant, and he like just follows them into the restaurant, and sits down and keeps staring at them, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's pretty unsettling.
And of course, the drunk girl, she ends up going and taking a selfie with him,
which is super annoying, but leads to a really cool callback later when he saws her in half.
Yep.
She's so stupid. She's like, "Oh, he's harmless. Oh no,
Yep.
no, yo, she's."
It was Halloween, to be fair. I mean, he could have just been some dude that was really into his Halloween
I
costume
know,
at
but did
first.
he
So
really look harmless?
He looked unsettling. He looked
Yeah.
like somebody you wouldn't want to like touch, you know.
yeah, I wouldn't want it.
Right.
Like he also, from the conditions of like the place he was sitting up in, he probably smells pretty bad too.
Well, in
Like-
that conditions, the way he left the bathroom, that doesn't surprise me.
Oh my lord, I was worse than the hacksaw.
That
But,
part was so gross, man.
Yeah, I kept thinking to myself, Eddie Murphy walking in on that bathroom scene in Daddy Daycare, going like, "Oh my god,
Yeah, it was
there
gnarly.
is shit all over the fucking place."
I do like that little moment after she like a few seconds after she like snaps the picture, she turns to Art. You have 8 likes because she posted
Yeah,
it
that was
on
pretty
Twitter or Instagram or something. So
And I guess Art like takes like a coin from like one of the meandering tables around and takes and I guess gets one of them dime store rings and slips it on the other chick's finger.
yeah, from like the gumball machine. And he disappears to the bathroom, and then the shop owner like throws him out.
When he does the ring thing, the drunk girl is like, "Oh, that's probably like the most attention or whatever you've gotten all night."
Yeah. Yeah, she does. Oh, man, there's a lot of little moments in this. That's kind of, I don't know, it moves along at a fast pace, but everything is kind of relevant to sort of like building to it because like the pizza owner like does like talk to the girls. It's like, hey, you want me to throw that guy out? Or... And then he ends up doing it anyway because Art destroyed the bathroom.
And then
Well, yeah,
obviously, like in the
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
like in the interim, he fucking slashes their tire, so that leaves them essentially stranded outside the warehouse while he's killing the pizzeria dudes. We don't really see the first guy die, but he makes a sweet jack-o'-lantern out of his head, and the other dude he stabs up real good though.
Yeah,
After
that jack-o'-lantern head is kind of a nice touch.
after smearing his name in shit all over the bathroom,
Yeah.
which is apparently the only time you actually see his name in the film.
Yeah, I think one of the people on TV
you
mentions
actually
it at the beginning, but
and you actually see his name on like one of the doors, like when you actually like in the fucking structure somewhere. You actually
Yeah,
see
his name only appears
written on it.
His name only appears written on walls in either like blood or shed.
it's a good way to write it, I guess.
That's what they said. But anyway, so the scene where he takes the girl, like eventually gets sawed in half, is really creepy. Because she's sitting in her car. She's sitting in the car, listening to the radio talk about a guy in a clown outfit, and they describe Art that he's wanted for some other crime. And she looks and checks the picture she took, and it's like, oh, it's the guy. And she hears somebody get in the car, and she thinks it's her friend, and she turns, and it's Art, just like still covered in the pizza guy's blood. And then it just kind of cuts to whatever her friend is doing. And I think that's around when...
Yeah, but this time her friend has actually called her sister.
Okay, so she calls her sister in. And doesn't she go into the... She meets the exterminator. Because she's just kind of wandering around the area, which probably isn't very
She
smart.
needs to use the bathroom is the thing. Like they get over there and she needs to use the bathroom.
She had to go to the
That girl's
bathroom,
like-
but then she got lost getting out.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a better explanation then.
Yeah, there's the whole scene where she's like basically begging the exterminator guy to just let her use the bathroom, and then the friend yells like, "She'll make it worth your while," or whatever. So
Like
he
what?
just lets her in.
Okay, yeah, and then she just opens the door and like Art is there, like like Art like jazz hands at her, and she just runs. But before she can get away, like Art knocks her out with some drug. Like she's almost able to get the exterminator's attention, but he covers her mouth and just jabs her with that needle, and then she's out. And I think that's when we get our.
Do we have to mention the vagrant woman and her lifeless looking doll?
Oh yeah, there's a sort of crazed lady with a toy doll that she thinks is like a real baby that she meets, who kind of like lives in the area. And there's some really unsettling creepy dialogue there. So that's our introduction to that character. But anyway, let's get to the hacksaw scene. So, oh boy, what do we think of that?
It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they didn't get more graphic with it than they needed to. I've certainly seen movies that have, and it doesn't really add much to it to show it in detail. We know where the cut starts.
Could
Okay,
definitely
like let's
give
just
you a
get
splitting
her
hit.
sawed in half. I liked it. I liked that he made her watch. It's real mean.
Yeah, he ties her to that chair and like forces him to watch her cut her friend in half, like down the crotch, like after he strips her down.
Yeah, it's
my kind of beef with the scene is the dummy looks kind of fake, which actually does like help the scene become bearable. Like it's probably the only way a lot of people did not just like throw up or give up on the film. And also, like she's like looking down at where he's sawing, like all the way. The saw is like all the way like into where her heart is, and she's still moving her head around like she's alive. No fucking way in hell! Like as soon as it got like into her pelvis, she would have bled out like minutes ago. Like
yeah, that would have made the scene a lot less fun, though. I like it when they wriggle
but
around
also
for
like
a while.
it's really distracting to me. It's like I don't know, like the human body
Overkill and a way to make the jiggy.
Yeah, it's in the sake of splatter.
Yeah,
it looks cooler if there's a little head wriggling around down there.
That's true. It just kind of took me out of it. No way, because I was like, actually, I did this with the other scene in Terrifier 2, like the other big kill scene. Like somebody's getting like their arms and shit ripped off, and they're still alive, and I'm just sitting here with my like hands on my hips, like, no way in the world are they still alive. So it's just kind of my reaction to that.
It's great. It's over the top. I mean, by this point, we've gotten a couple little tidbits of gore, but this is the main like epic splatter scene of the movie where it just goes over the top. Everything up to this point was kind of shit you've seen in other slasher movies.
I've never seen like this before, exactly.
Yeah.
And he's making like gestures and going like, ooh, haha. Like,
yeah, that's great.
And then he does this a little bit later, but he does like use the girl's phone to like take a selfie with her shredded corpse.
Yeah, that was my favorite bit of the whole thing.
But anyway, she's so freaked out, she's able to find the strength to like rip through like the tape that he tied her to the chair with and like escape. And they managed to. There's a little bit of a cat and mouse thing that Jacob said he really liked, and that's some pretty good tension building. So she throws like a piece of metal in the other direction, and it actually works to like distract him. And then
my only fault I find with her actions in that like parking lot was why the fuck did she stay behind that car for so long, knowing that his footsteps were coming around? You know,
Well, it was
that's
just
the only thing.
hide, and it worked. So, but anyway, they end up having a fight. She's just clobbering the shit out of him with this board, and like she does have him. She has him beat, like briefly. Like if she had just kept attacking him instead of waiting for him to get up so she could hit him again, like she might have gotten out of this. But Art does something most slashers don't do. He pulls a gun from his ankle and blasts her.
Sure.
Right, which I thought was just great. I mean, it's like it sort of silently illustrates that he kind of let her beat on him, and he let all this shit happen just for fun. Like he could have just shot her if he really wanted to at the beginning, while she was first getting away. But he didn't, because where's the fun in that kind of a thing, And even her wanting him to get up, go ahead.
The gun thing totally freaked me out. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it does kind of violate the rules of slashers to use the gun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but by this time point, I think she had pretty much pissed him off. Exactly. He was like, "I'm done. Fuck this bitch."
Yeah, and he's shooting her like slow too, like in non-lethal places, like just enough to like cause pain. And he runs out of bullets, and he's just kind of like, and then he's like, 1 minute. This is all done in like completely silent gestures too. And he goes back into like his workshop, and he's digging through his trash bag for another clip. And then he comes back and just like dumps it into her face.
Yeah, I thought it's another one of those scenes that's just mean-spirited as hell. Like, because the last shot before he runs out of bullets, it hits her in the face, like in the cheek, but just one time, not enough to kill her, So she's laying there for a minute while he just leisurely goes and gets another clip, and then shoots her a lot of times. Yeah, it's wow.
Yeah,
I like that you said that leisurely, because he did. He got all mad because he ran out of bullets, and he just walks off and because he doesn't say anything or make any noise, so you're just watching his movements,
And she's just laying there like wheezing. It's rough. It's real rough. And then, that does it for what you thought were like the two main girls. They sort of pull a little switcheroo here, and the main character actually turns out to be the sister that's coming to rescue them.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess wasn't altogether surprising. We knew it was going to be one of the brunette girls, because the faceless lady at the beginning is brunette, and their friend was blonde. So, and I'm pretty sure they're not putting her back together to go on that TV show.
No.
So she's dead as fuck. So obviously it was going to be one of the sisters, and right around the time where he, even as leisurely as he gets that clip, like if he hadn't shot her in the face yet, and this was another horror movie, someone probably would have rescued her maybe in the meantime, and she'd just have some bullet wounds. But yeah, there's not really happy endings in these films. I get the idea.
Yeah, and then the sister shows up, and I think, doesn't the sister walk in like right when he finishes her off?
No, she comes up at first.
She gets a text from the front door to meet her around the back.
Yeah, and that part is actually confused
because she's like, "Where the heck are you?"
That's part of why he takes so long getting the clip. And then he finishes her off while she's like walking around the side of the building. And that's one area where I kind of question some sort of realism, because he for sure would have heard all those gunfire. Like, he shot her like 6 times or 8 times.
Yeah,
that's why I said to David, like, she doesn't hear all those gunshots, really.
right.
And then she just ends up inside, like looking for her sister. I can't remember if. At what point does she meet the janitor? Is he who lets her in, or how does she even get in? Does she just come in the back door?
She does just kind of come in the back door. The janitor is actually listening to some headphones on the second floor, and
the crazy
while
lady
she's
comes
going around running, she tries to get his attention, and I guess at the last moment when Art like grabs her, he like turns around like, oh, what the fuck was that? You know?
Right. Yeah, that was before they both died, but like
Yeah,
afterwards, that crazy lady who saw, the girl sawed in half,
the
it
crazy
comes
lady
and tells him.
Yeah, and she talks about the clown as if like he's a killer, and he's laughing afterwards, and I need you to call the police, all that jazz, and he just thinks she's crazy.
Pretty much, yeah. And then he's going to basically call the cops on her, I think.
Yeah, and
and
about
he
that
turns
time,
around
he
and Art
goes up
thumps
the
him with a
stairs,
hammer.
and he gets yeah.
So he's out of commission when
But
the sister comes in there, but he shows up later when she's like, Art's got a hold of her, I think. And he like whacks him with some type of metal.
Yeah, we think he's out of commission, and then when he all of a sudden shows up and helps her because he's whipping her with this whatever,
Yeah, he has this
that's the
rifle.
first time.
It's Art's whip is like a really kind of a cool weapon. It's basically a whip that he's just braided like bits of metal into. So it's basically just like
his own invention of a cat of nine tails.
Yeah, it's a cat of nine tails, with scalpels, which is fucking, and bits of other gnarly sharp stuff, and it's doing a good job.
It's just like metal scraps and razor blades and shit. It's really
fucking
cool.
tetanus whip.
I would say it's like Freddy's glove for a new generation.
Yeah,
somebody said something stupid on Twitter the other day, so I went and I found a picture of it, and I posted it under the comment with, time to break out the punishment rod. And, so, although that was the Terrifier 2 design, which does appear to have more of like a long wood handle and like less stuff on it. So
sleeker.
Yeah. A little bit more simplistic. Like this looked like it had a lot more braids on it. And a lot more like metal shit. But yeah, he's tearing her up with that thing, and the exterminator just comes along and like whack.
It looks like he hit him with like the rim of a tire or something. Like I don't know what that was that he hit him with.
Yeah, I couldn't quite see it either. Like he just appears and you can tell he hits him with something, but I couldn't really make it out either.
It takes place in some type of a factory warehouse thing, so there's like random bits of metal lying around that I guess, unless you're like knowledgeable of whatever industry was in that building that they used, then who knows, it looked like there was weird bits of piping and stuff around too for something, and bits of like like panel electrical boxes that stuff would plug into. It gave the movie a really cool look wherever it was that they were shooting. But
yeah, it looked like it pretty much looked like an indoor junkyard to me.
Yeah, it had a lot of that vibe. Yeah.
But and anyway, so the dude's able to call the police and like get her to another room, and they're like, "No, we're leaving." And Art like appears, and Art doesn't screw around like this time. He just like rams something into the guy's like
I think it's a beer keg, dude. He fucking hits him with it first.
Maybe. But yeah, Art kills that guy real quick and then like chases back on. And at some point he kills the woman with the fake baby. And he scalps her and like takes some of her skin to use as a disguise.
Yeah, he does a Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
Yep.
that's actually when she first encounters Art. Is she comes in there and finds the body, and she thinks it's her sister, I think, or another woman, and she rolls him over, and then the chase is on, and then
Okay.
we get to where we're at now.
Okay,
But,
I'm a little confused as to where that took place, because this is the part of the movie that moves along really fast, and so it's kind of like, what point did that happen?
The sister kind of gets away because she's able to like squeeze between that, the gap that's left in that door with the chain, like it has a little slack in it, and Art can't fit through, and he's like honking the horn at her or whatever. And then he leaves, and then just rams a truck into her, which I thought was fucking hilarious.
And he like starts eating her face, which is like so fucked. The police show up like right then, and Art basically Art just shoots himself. And that's when we cut away back to the beginning of the movie before the TV interview, and we reveal the faceless lady is the sister. Yep. And our final scene is is at the morgue. They're getting ready to do the autopsies and talking about the victims. And when they open Art's body bag, he's pretty clearly dead. And then all the lights like flicker off and on. Like we hear some weird whispering. I think the phone rings, and Art's eyes open, and like he grabs the corner like by the throat, and that's like it. So, and since we saw him suiting up at the beginning of the movie, we know he's alive.
He did have a really weird look on his face, though. So I know he looked dead, but he was actually looking like at the dude too. Like
I think he was just. I think he's basically just invincible. Like I think he was just faking that he was dead the whole time.
I don't think he's invincible per se. Like, so Terrifier 2 opens with him in the morgue, and a slight spoiler for Terrifier 2, he lost an eye when he shot himself. He takes the dude's eye as a replacement.
Right, that's what I'm getting at. Like,
kind of a nod to Leprechaun. An eye for an eye.
It's almost like his body is just like some type of doll this evil is inhabiting or something.
Yeah, it was like a Jeepers Creepers thing, because the creeper
because he doesn't bleed much when she stabs him either, and he just tanks those 2x4 shots to the face without any real visible damage. I mean, it's there was like a point where I was like, maybe he's just kind of invincible. Like he might not even really feel pain. He might just do it for the sake of making them think that they are getting away or something. It's just so that he can have more fun killing them, I guess.
It's kind of suggested he might be a demon.
Nice.
Like a demon. It's somewhat implied by a couple things from Terrifier 2, which we will eventually cover, and you'll probably be hearing a lot of these same things again when we do that. But so yeah, that's pretty much the first Terrifier, and what a ride! Good God! So I guess launching into our little topics that we usually cover. So special effects, pretty good. Maybe better, but effective, right?
Yeah, very gruesome, and not like overly realistic, but like very gruesome and unsettling.
Yeah,
they work. They make you squirm.
They're not perfect, but they're certainly above average. For these kind of, especially for a movie in this sort of tier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in this budget level. Okay, we did talk a lot about special effects all throughout too. So we haven't touched on the music though. So this has some pretty good, like right to the point music. Like the main theme, like the main Terrifier theme. Like I love it. It rocks.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I liked it. I ended up having to watch it on my phone, so I didn't have the best sound system going on, unfortunately, but from what I could hear of it, it was real nice. Complimented the movie. dare I say, even kind of catchy at points.
It almost felt a little bit like it almost felt a little bit like the music from Maniac, but like if it was more like not sad, like but more like triumphant, like celebratory of the violence in Maniac.
Yeah.
Would you say that's a good descriptor for it?
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's got like a memorable quality to it too. It's simple. It's like it's not overly complicated. I think they did it just right. Like it's the type of thing like you're gonna remember it. You know.
Yeah, the soundtrack has "I'll Try" and "Dark Horse" performed by Thanks. "Get Gone," which was performed by Shadowlands. "I Love You" and "Leather" performed by Devereaux, and "Apex Rag," which was performed by Nordzo. Don't know, but that's pretty much the soundtrack.
Yeah, it works, man.
Yeah, I'm thinking mostly of just like the pure score itself. Like I really like this score. Like I'm actually gonna try to find a copy of it.
Yeah, I would if there was like a version of this that wanted to come out with a soundtrack disc, I'd spring for it.
Yeah.
I think there might be a vinyl. Like don't quote me on that though, but I'm pretty sure I've seen that at some point.
It's possible. It's definitely gotten quite a huge following, so I would imagine that, especially since vinyl has come back like in like spring loads, especially lately in like independent, films and whatnot. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
But-
not at all.
So anyway, I think that's probably it for music. So I guess we're gonna move on to favorites and then wrap her up. So I think my favorite scene is probably in the beginning when Art's suiting up, because I mean I knew what Art was looking like, what Art looked like, because I'd seen All Hallows Eve. But just the tone of that scene, like with the music and seeing, he's putting on the gloves, he's shoving all like his knives and like weapons into the bag, he's putting on his makeup in the mirror with those you're seeing him smiling with those unnatural, weird, like bad teeth. Like it really set the tone for what we're about to see, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite as well. Overall, like just scene gore bit. I'm pretty partial to him hacking that dude's hand off in the pizzeria is pretty nice. I don't know why I like a good hand hack in a movie. Especially when it squirts all around like that and they're like looking at the stump and screaming. It's just it's a good gag, yeah, those are probably my two favorites. I also really like that opening with the faceless lady and her killing the other girl. Like, you just don't expect that. I was not at all expecting that lady to pop out and just fucking thumb her eye holes,
That was a good kill.
Yeah, those would be my top three. I don't have anything to plug at the end, so I'm actually going to have to take off, man. My kid's having some issues. I got to help her sort out. But this was fun.
It was great having you. Yeah, so happy you got to share in the experience with us, and
yeah,
hopefully we get to do Terrifier 2 pretty soon. And yeah,
It was
I'm
great
down
talking
if we
to
do,
you again.
man. Yeah, thank you for
talking
picking
Mo?
this. I'm glad I got an excuse to watch
Yep.
it. I'll
Try
see
to
you
have a
guys
good
later.
evening, huh?
You too, bud. Night.
Good night.
anyway, how about you, Forrest?
Oh man, I don't know if this is necessarily my favorite, but yeah, the scene of Dawn getting sawed in half like a pig, like a gutted pig that's what stuck out to me. It's probably the one moment of the whole movie that sticks out to me.
Pretty hard to forget.
Yeah, and the hacked hand of the pizza guy.
Yeah, I guess if I had to pick my favorite like gore scene, in addition to like favorite overall scene, I think I would probably. It's actually kind of an off-camera one because I think I would go with the jack-o'-lantern head.
Oh yeah,
as my favorite thing. Like, we don't see him do it, but I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, you have to wonder if the makers of Halloween 2018 had watched this movie before, because Halloween 2018 also had the whole
I had the officer.
the jack-o'-lantern, the decapitated head as a jack-o'-lantern. If they cribbed that from this movie.
Possibly. This movie was really, really popular, and Halloween 2018 would have been being written around that time. So, I mean, there's no way to really know without, like, asking, like, David Gordon Green, but...
Yeah. Or Danny McBride, for that matter.
Or Danny McBride, But, yeah, so that would be my favorite gore scene. And so, all right, cool. I guess that, do we move on to Tammy?
Yeah. I know it's probably weird, but I think my my favorite scene is when that girl gets cut in half, because it was just something that I don't remember seeing before, and I was like, oh my god, he's gonna go all the way. Yeah, okay.
Just like, we're doing this. Oh, no.
Oh right, I just thought he was gonna go, then I didn't think he was gonna literally do it all the way. I was just like, wow. So,
All right, and then you, Dave.
Well, I really do like the main kill part. It is fucking rememberable as all heck. I mean, yeah, I've seen it done before, and more brutally than this, in like Long Pigs and possibly a Bone Tomahawk, but he did it pretty damn good here. But I do I do get a kick out of the fact that he shit all over the bathroom and left a mess.
Oh yeah.
And,
Art is is a real bastard.
and his comedy humor at it, the way he, just nonchalantly goes about killing, like he doesn't have a care in the world, like he's got all day, all night to do all this shit, and like he's in no rush, So, but I did like like the end when the lights flickered and he rose up like Michael Myers does every time you think he's dead, and it's hard not to like send a call back to that type of rising, when you think the main dude's dead and he's not, and all of a sudden he's like on a rampage again, So kudos for Art the Clown for bringing a character that's worth seeing on screen, and you definitely have to check it out if you have not. So, yeah, those are some of my favorites, and I like some of the little it's and bitsy pieces too, like even the moments with the vagrant lady. Some of those off-key moments were kind of,
Yeah, those were really odd and like added to the creepy atmosphere.
I like
how going on.
The main chick at the moment was like, yeah, I've got to go see the landlord about my rent.
Yeah, well, anyway, so I think that's probably it. So I'm going to outro myself and then sign off. So unless anybody, we're done, right?
Yeah.
No final thoughts? All right, cool. So anyway, I'm the Cryptophorus. I have a YouTube channel called the Cryptophorus where I show off the horror collectibles I find out in the world. I really need to film some videos because I've been finding stuff again after a bit of a long drought. So subscribe to my channel and hopefully we'll have some new videos for you this week at the Cryptophorus on YouTube. Not Crypt TV, which apparently pops up in the search like every time, no matter what. But the Cryptophorus. And that's also my Instagram name, where I post much more frequently. And I'm on Twitter as Cryptaxis, like DER Cryptaxis. And you can find me on Twitter pretty much all day, every day, because I kind of have no life right now. So
Very cool.
Anyway, I'm gonna head out. Take it away, Dave.
Alrighty, and thank you for bringing this to us. So, Forrest, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right, my name is Forrest Bennett, and I'm an independent film producer and actor based in Long Island, New York. And I recently acted in a movie called I have a movie that just recently came out called Amityville Thanksgiving. That's been making a killing on no pun intended on itself. An indie horror movie itself. It's making a killing. Like on the web and in DVD sales. It's my first feature film as an actor. I also have another movie coming out soon called Silent Night Bloody Night 3, which is a follow up to the cult classic 1972 Christmas slasher, the same Christmas themed slasher. And you can find me on Instagram under My Name Is Not Gump. Where I do comic book pickups, and you can also my YouTube channel Forrest B. Bennett, and I've always got something going on in the pipeline.
Very cool, and thanks for joining us tonight. It's been an honor every time. So, heading over to you, Tammy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm David's fiance. I go on this channel and another and talk about movies and listen to everybody else's opinions. And it's interesting, and I just have a lot of fun for the most part watching them, different movies, and I have my own collections of things, and that's about it.
Alrighty, and my name is David Struggy. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore. So thank you for coming along with us on this very cool journey that I started on 5 years ago. I was bored out of my mind, and I needed to talk somewhere with other people of my own ilk about movies that I love to talk about. So and all of them are different levels, and it's been interesting. So next week we start Tammy and her choices. I believe Brandon has the list in which order that they are in, so I guess we'll surprise you with what's going to be coming up first, at least. So, but I also moonlight under a different channel
Not
called
to interrupt you. Starting next week, though, aren't we going to be on Mondays?
Yes, next week is the first time that we're actually changing our days to Monday nights. So if you've been a avid listener, tune in Monday nights, same time that we normally do. It's just a different nighttime. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting change. But I moonlight under a different channel called Delusions of Grandeur, where I also podcast with my fiance here and my good friend Boris and Kroll from time to time, where we also talk about many different movies of the same ilk. So, but I also do some video pickups and video reviews from time to time. So check the channel out. Let us know what you think of our discussion down in the comments below, and hopefully Terrifier 2 will be just as good as this one was, at least in my mind. So on that note, I think everyone should say good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.